You must be one of the girls. Fixing up the old house way out there from campus.
You know about that?
Small town.
My mom used to live here.
She didn't tell you anything about the place where you're going?
No? Everything okay?
Yeah, everything. He made sure of it.
You guys really going off grid?
By the end of summer, we'll have moved all our electricity to solar and all our water to the well.
There's no internet?
No internet and no cell service either.
Hello?
I've got a lot of killing to make up for.
This can't be real.
Do I look like a figment of imagination to you? I want me gold.
Here's the thing my mom always said was real.
Her and her friends threw me down the well to rot.
There is a deranged dwarf obsessed with money in the kitchen.
It's a leprechaun. He would murder anyone for his gold.
Why you look so sore? Audiences love lots of gore.
I spent last summer stopping poachers from killing sea turtles in Costa Rica. I can handle a bunch of pocket-sized pixies.
Opinions, viewpoints, and beliefs presented on this program do not necessarily reflect those of the management, the affiliates and broadcast partners, or the sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
Scarefest Radio, the radio you can see.
And hello and good evening, everyone, and welcome to Scarefest Television. I am your host, Wes Forsythe, and this evening I am joined by co-host Adrian Elder. And
Hello.
And our guest tonight, as advertised, showed up with bells on, Mark Holton. So I want to welcome Mark to the show. I'll just remind everybody that I gotta take these things off, everybody. I got new glasses this week. And I need bifocals, but I didn't get bifocals because screw the man. Anyway, the point is, I just wanted to show everybody my new spectacles, but I can't read anything with them on. So I'm back just being good old Wes, like you know me. We do have 3 celebrity announcements tonight. I almost want to say 2.5 because Brandon did the artwork and he put 2. Anyway, we have 3 people to announce coming to Scarefest. We'll drop them at the bottom of the hour. And beyond that, let's just get right into our guest. Mark, it is so nice to have you on here. I was telling you before the show, you have been on my radar. I was one of the originals. I saw Pee-wee's Big Adventure in the drive-in theater when it was out there for real.
That's the place to see it, is in a drive-in.
And I had 2 friends that watched it, I think with me, and one of them liked it, and the other one hated it. But, you know, what can you do? He was one of those macho country boys. But so you went from that, you went to Teen. Okay, you did Pee-wee, then you went to Teen Wolf, both parts. You've done Leprechaun now. Leprechaun Returns. How do you keep surviving into the sequels? That's my first question.
Well, I only survived into 1 sequel as far as the Leprechaun movies go. And there were only really 2 Teen Wolf movies, so it was pretty easy to survive into that one.
Well,
but
you know, Okay, I'll take your word for it. I'll take your word for it. It was just fun when we got to announce you that you were coming to Scarefest, because every time Brandon is always accusing me of not knowing what anybody's in, and he'd say your movie, and I'd go, Teen Wolf 2, Leprechaun Returns. In other words, that was just my little dig it. Occasionally I know things. Now I'm going to start. Let's say I watched Gacy today. I had not seen it. It kind of hit my radar when I was reading up on you. I had a question from one of our big fans, Jake Godbold, who is in Facebook jail right now, so he can't join us in chat. But he wants to know, can you still do Gacy's handcuff trick?
Yeah, it wasn't really much of a trick. There's really no sleight of hand or magic there. It's just finding somebody gullible enough to let you put them on.
See, now I would argue, being a man of my age, that palming the key and then unlocking your own handcuffs, that still sounds impossible to me. I can't even get real locks undone most of the time in front of me.
Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, when he said handcuff trick, I thought he meant the trick of tricking someone into letting Gacy put the handcuffs on.
Okay.
So,
you went into
which could
character.
be bad for your health.
You went into character. I thought he just meant the so-called magic trick. Gacy, everybody in the chat room, if you have not seen Gacy, you need to watch it. Mark was absolutely off the charts fabulous. I'm going to put that out there. I thought you nailed every part of the character. Now this is just me asking dumbass questions because that's what I do. Was that movie originally meant to be a TV movie and then it went to video, or did it just go straight to video just for the sake of going to video?
It went straight to the video. Wasn't meant for television, no. That's the end of the business I had nothing to do with or have nothing to do with. But, I'm surprised a lot of people don't want to watch it. And some guys that, look about your age, really tough guys, and say, well, why haven't you seen it if you've heard good things about it? And they say, well, I just didn't want to ruin Francis's, memory in my mind from my childhood. I thought, well, that makes sense. And I've got people in my own family that haven't watched it. They don't want to think of Mark as a serial killer.
Like I said, I actually, assuming that it stayed fairly accurate to the news, I remember when that happened, but back then there was only, you had 3 networks, basically to watch your news on. And so, in other words, we didn't get a lot of information, a lot of background on that. Like, I didn't know he was politically connected. I thought, I'm not going to get into it. I thought his targets were tended much younger than the movie reflected. I'll put it that way. So assuming that the movie was reasonably true to the true story, I did learn some stuff watching.
Well, you have to remember, if you're going to stay true to age on a motion picture, you're going to have a trailer for tutoring and a tutor and a stage mother. And there's just a lot of money when it comes to working with anybody underage. So I don't know if that has something to do with it, but I'm pretty sure it has something to do with that budget anyway.
Now, the only other thing, this, of course, I'm sure was either a script thing, totally out of your control. I wanted to see more of you as Pogo.
Well, it was completely out of my control. I wasn't on the writing staff, and I worked with what I had to work with.
Now, was the little section that we saw in it, which was just when he was watching footage with somebody else, was that pretty much the only part that you filmed in full makeup like that, or was there more that hit the cutting room floor, a lot more pogo stuff?
No, that was the only thing they filmed, and it was supposed to look like an 8mm movie. That was the only time we did the pogo makeup, except for the scene where I strangle and drowned. The kid that comes to sell me the used car, and of course he definitely had the pogo makeup on, and I guess Casey was in a wife beater, and covered with sweat. So that would be the only other time that I was in that makeup.
Okay, Adrian, over to you.
So actually, my questions don't go towards a specific film that you worked on, but I was wondering, I was reading a little bit about your bio, and you grew up in Oklahoma?
Yes, I am in Oklahoma as we speak.
So I was just wondering, haven't met a lot of actors and actresses that have always lived and still live in Oklahoma. Before you got into filming, is that what you wanted to do, or did you kind of get your start in your film career?
Well, I spent 33 years in Southern California, so I made a conscious decision, having never been to Southern California before, to pack up my little Pontiac Astra and go for it. But I had just some circumstances in my life that it'd be real hard to convince me that they weren't affected by the hand of God.
Right.
The amount of luck is just amazing. I had a college buddy that had been to the Los Angeles area and made good friends with this guy out there, and he mentioned to him on the phone. He said, "Hey, my buddy Mark Holton's coming out. Can I give him your number? Maybe you could, give him some pointers, tell him where to look for an apartment, or, what areas not to go into so he doesn't get killed."
Right.
He's from a small town in Oklahoma. And the guy said, "Well, where's he staying?" And he said, "Well, I don't know." He goes, "Well, just tell him to stay with us."
Oh, wow.
So, that was the first thing. And then it turned out that his wife was an assistant casting director at Paramount.
Okay.
So casting directors, they have to read with tons of actors every day, all day long,
Wow.
trying to find the people to take back to the director for a callback or whatever. It was just easier for her to call me in for free and to read against these actors. And I found myself in a callback situation for the pilot of anyway, it was for a sitcom, and after spending a few days with me, Webster was the name of it, and after spending several days with the producers and director, they decided to reward me and said, "Hey, we're writing you into the last episode of the season." And that's how I got my Screen Actors Guild card.
Wow.
And of course, once you get in the union, then doors start opening for you.
Right. Wow. Okay, that's pretty awesome. Now, I guess so with that, were there any movies that you were in that maybe when you did go to audition for them that you thought, well, I'm not really going to get into this movie, or I am really going to get into this movie? Did you have any big surprises in your career as far as that goes, like with any roles that you got or didn't get even?
Well, it's a process of playing the laws of average. The law of averages. For every X number of auditions you have, you will get a callback For every X number of callbacks you get, you will get the
Right.
job. And so, that might be for film, television, commercials. Always were nice because they filled the gap, kept me from living under a bridge and having to eat a hobo. So
That would have made a really good movie in and of
I
itself.
felt, it's just a lot of people they just get tired of it, and then there are people that were incredibly lucky, like myself, and blessed.
I was gonna say I could see where that may hamper, get you down a little bit if you have to go through that process, like you were saying, out of the X number that you don't get a call back for or that you don't get casted for. I'm sure it can probably weigh on you after a while. So, just staying in.
You have to adopt a new way of living. I mean, if you don't have a for sure paycheck,
Right.
at the end of that movie, there you go. And if you're in a series, any day it could be over. So you have to be disciplined and have some self-denial and make it last, because you never know when the last audition you walk out of might be your last. The last time you walk in front of a camera might be your last. I mean, it's not as as great as being a test pilot. To where your last flight might.
Right.
There's no redos, but if you're lucky and you if you have a lot of luck and stick-to-itiveness, people are fortunate. And then there's people like Mickey Rooney, who was a big child star, and he went on to win an Academy Award for The Black Stallion. But he had a period of time in his life to where he didn't work for 14 years.
Wow, I didn't know that.
There's a lot of, I was paying my dues. Well, there's a lot of people that paid their dues in different ways. So.
Right. And then my last, not specifically related to any certain film, how long have you been doing like con appearances? Because your name, I haven't really seen a lot of you like at different conventions and things. And what's your experience been like with doing cons and meeting fans of your work?
Well, I started doing cons with the Horror Hound right before COVID hit. And then I think the next one was in Pennsylvania or whatever. And the words that, kind of jumped off the page at me during the announcement were, rare appearance. Hell yeah, it was a rare appearance. And there's still rare appearance.
Right.
And I've been to one since then in New Jersey, and so Wes said I could plug something. So next weekend I will be in Atlanta.
Me too.
And,
Me too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Well, I'll come by the table.
Yeah, I think Wes and maybe Brandon and I are all gonna go down for Days of the Dead for the weekend. So.
Well, we'll just have a reunion. How about that?
And it's great, like going to shows. But for me personally, because I've been doing Scarefest for 14 years, and in that whole time, I never really went to other conventions. Like Scarefest was my whole world, and now going and just kind of networking, and it's really cool to go and actually get to have time. So when you have experiences like the one we're having now, where maybe you've done the show or you've been on Scarefest TV, but then when the Scarefest is actually here, we're all so busy, we can't just sit down and have a coffee or something. So.
Oh yeah, it's hard. I mean, if you're involved in any way, especially, in your capacity or when you're at your table or whatever, there's a lot of people you don't get to meet, a lot of things that you don't get to see.
Right.
But so yeah, it's probably going to be a whole new world for you in Atlanta. I hope
Yeah,
so.
I'm pretty excited. As long as I can keep Wes Brandon in line, which I might need to take like Anita, if you're in there, can I borrow a cattle prod
Sure.
for Atlanta?
Sure.
I'm glad you said that. I have a sleeper for you guys. It's a film called Hoboken Hollow. And if you'll Google the Texas Slave Ranch, it's something that actually happened that involved cattle prods and murder. And that's what Hoboken Hollow is based on. And there's a pretty good cast there. There's C. Thomas Howell, Robert Carradine, Michael Madsen, and myself. And I think it's a real sleeper. I've talked with a lot of people that are just walking encyclopedias for the whole horror genre, and they're going, "No, I haven't heard of that one." So it might be something that your audience might be interested. People that like to dig and find little jewels that they've bypassed.
Right. Hoboken Hollow.
Yes.
I've got it written.
Yes, I play probably my most unusual character in that, and that's all I'm going to say. He's not a nice guy. Not a nice guy.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take over. We're going to hop in with our commercial break. We'll be back after a couple of messages.
Everyone is talking about CBD oil, and it seems like almost everyone is using it. The research is ongoing, but the apparent health benefits are overwhelming. If you're going to use CBD products, though, what brand should you buy? First, find out where the hemp was grown. Imports are flooding the market. How potent is it? Look for a brand that plainly states its concentration on the label. And look for full spectrum CBD. This means the oil contains CBD and all the other cannabinoids, terpenes, and nutrients that are found in the entire cannabis plant. Look for Blue Leaf CBD oil. Blue Leaf Naturals is a Kentucky proud company. They use only Kentucky-grown hemp, supporting Kentucky farmers and businesses. Visit their website at blueleafcbd.com now and use the code SMILE at checkout for free shipping.
Spirit Mechanics is here to help. Their background includes many different specialties across the metaphysical spectrum, including alchemy, shamanism, Celtic witchcraft, angelic magic, astral travel, and more.
With over 30 years combined experience in the group, you can be confident in their ability to help. If there is a question you have that you cannot answer, they will do their best to assist you.
Metaphysics can be intimidating, confusing, and unfortunately, abused. Spirit Mechanics takes pride in being selfless in the pursuit of helping others, being humble and honest with their clients about their questions, and lastly, maintaining a professional and personable atmosphere. They want you to feel as you are coming to a close friend, and they will do everything in their power to make you comfortable and safe.
And welcome back, everybody, to Scarefest TV. Our guest tonight is Mr. Mark Holton. Okay, Mark, now, this is one that I didn't watch special. I picked you out of a lineup. I saw you on Seinfeld.
Yeah, people, for some reason, you do something and it becomes part of history. You think nobody would ever think of me, or pick me out of Seinfeld. And there are people that are bringing me things, mounted on metal to sign, with a photograph from one episode. But that's great. I mean, Seinfeld will run forever. So yeah, people are picking me out. That's a good indication that maybe maybe I made an impression somewhere else.
And it's also a very good indication that Netflix has not added anything worth a damn for like 3 months, because I'm watching Seinfeld. I'm binge watching Seinfeld, which I saw the first time it was out also. Okay. Like I said, now you hit my radar with Pee-wee's Big Adventure and then Teen Wolf. I'm just looking at your IMDb here, and you stayed pretty damn busy there for a while. I mean, bigger parts, smaller parts, granted, but you had your career, what do you attribute that to? I mean, on paper, you really took off there. Working actor and all.
Well, it was pretty much a mystery to me that I was completely oblivious to the fact that people had been looking for me, because I wasn't involved in social media. I never did really follow the trade papers, and pop culture, forget it. So it finally dawned on me after quitting the business that people had been looking for me, and that's how I ended up doing Leprechaun Returns. Actually, somebody hunted me down, got me a script, and the next thing I knew, I was in South Africa filming it. But I finally put it together or whatever. You had a period of time when a lot of these films came out where they were VHS or the theater only. You either saw them in the theater or you rented or bought the VHS. And once you invested in it, you watched it over and over and over. And the first time that people were pulling up on the side of the street and pointing at me and saying different lines or whatever, it was the summer that both Pee-wee and Teen Wolf came out, and or they came out pretty close. And of course, Back to the Future was #1 that summer, and then of course Teen Wolf, Mike Fox. So it kind of rode the coattails of that. And then you had all these other films and little appearances like in Naked Gun. See, I never put 2 and 2 together there. To where Mom had taken us to see Naked Gun, and oh, hey, there's Francis. So they remembered it, and there's just a group of films there that became a part of people's childhood that was passed down from generation. We're into the 3rd or 4th generation, maybe more than that. People that, my dad showed it to me, or my parents took me to see it. My brother and I, when we talk, we still, do the I know you are, but what am I banter back and forth. So I think a lot of these films are more popular now because they're part of family history, really, or family memory anyway. That I was completely unaware of, and the fact that you have to remember back in the 80s, if a friend of mine that was reviewing movies then and is reviewing movies now, he said, we might have had 1,800 films that year. Now you've got thousands, spread across millions of different platforms. So, it was just being in the right place and the right time. And now it's just being alive and being part of that memory and having, filled in the gaps when I did, which has been a lot of fun.
Okay, we're going to pause just a moment now. We're going to do our announcements. It's the bottom of the hour, and I did promise everybody, for the record, the live viewers, I know you're having a little trouble watching tonight. It's an internet issue, but the archive will be uploaded just as soon as the show is over. I'm recording it. I do that. Okay, our first announcement for Scarefest 2022 is Alan Trotman. Now, you'll remember Alan for Dinosaurs, Men in Black. No, okay. You know him from The Living Dead. Although I gotta say, Muppets Haunted Mansion. Muppets Haunted Mansion. So I'm gonna throw that in there. But yeah, Alan Trotman from Return of the Living Dead is coming to Scarefest 2022. Now this next one, Brandon has been begging me to watch this. I don't know a thing about the movie, but I'm just gonna say it. We've got Sky Elobar and Michael St. Michael's from The Greasy Strangler coming this year. Now, Sky, basically, I also had Under the Silver Lake, The Rocker. Now, that one I don't know. He had another there. I'm not going to mention it. But anyway, accomplished actors here. Michael St. Michael's, Freshwater, Strange Toys. So we've got that, and now I will definitely have to watch The Greasy Strangler just because I like to know what the hell's going on. Everybody, if you want to volunteer for the Scarefest staff, our volunteers, we are still looking for volunteers for Scarefest 2020. If you want to be a part of something big and it looks pretty good on a job resume, just go to thescarefest.com. It'll take you to a page. It'll show you the link for volunteering. The Scarefest Horror Film Festival is open for entries. It's on Film Freeway. Also, the link is available from thescarefest.com, or you can go to filmfreeway.com and type in the Scarefest. However you want to do it, we are starting the judging process. So get them in there, and you've got a better chance of more judges seeing them early than later. Central Kentucky Mystical Market is not going on in the month of March. We have moved it off to allow for another event to go on, so there will be no Central Kentucky Mystical Market during the month of March. Back to the crowd. I got one more question, and then I'm going to toss it over to Adrian. But, okay, let me get back here so I know what my question was. Okay. Now this one, I watched the movie and I do not remember your part. So I'm going to ask you a really stupid question. The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle. And on IMDb, it says your character was FBI agent - Potato. Now, were you an FBI agent named Potato? What was that character? So I might jog my memory.
Well, Robert De Niro played a fearless leader. And one of the sight gags in the movie was that he had turned the FBI agents, after capturing them, into mindless vegetables.
Oh.
And there's your sight gag. You had a carrot, a potato, and a beet. And I was fortunate enough to wear the outfit of the of the potato head. But you know what? When you have a chance to work with Robert De Niro, if it's a potato, so be it.
Absolutely.
Fair enough. Adrian, over to you.
Okay, let's see. Flying by the seat of our pants here. Since you haven't done many conventions, I'm hoping you haven't gotten a lot of stupid questions yet. So maybe I can think of some new
I just asked him
questions
about being a
for you.
potato, and you think anything you're going to come up with tops that.
I'm a potato 7 days. So I have absolutely no problem with anybody being a potato. That's me right there. So since we're a horror and paranormal convention, do you watch a lot of horror movies? And if you do, what are some of your favorite horror movies?
I am so far behind, and I could never catch up. Some of my favorite horror movies are films like Motel Hell with Rory Calhoun. And, you know, it's pretty a broad, sampling of films. You know, Bruce Dern is going to be in Atlanta. He did a film called Silent Running, which, I would love to meet him and get his autograph and ask him about filming there. And then you have, other horror films. You have so many different, slasher films, frightening films, and going back to, when I was a kid and watching Vincent Price in the theater, and it was during one of Vincent Price's movies at a Saturday matinee that was full of kids, and the old 35 millimeter cameras. Now and then the film would freeze and the bulb would absolutely bleed the cell from the film into this burst of crazy colors.
Wow.
And it just happened to match the soundtrack at a really perfect moment. And the theater erupted, with people scared out of their minds. So what just happened? Oh, the film melted. Okay, whatever. Some of my other, favorites are like Something Wicked This Way Comes.
Right.
Is one of my favorite scary movies. But I grew up with a Monster from the Black Lagoon, The Mummy, Dracula, and Frankenstein, and all the cheesy stuff like when it seems like it was on TV every weekend, about the giant vulture that attacked the plane that you never really saw. Rodan, is that the name of it?
I can't remember.
Oh, yeah. Well, you didn't miss anything. Plan 9 from Outer Space, Ed Wood classic. There's a lot of things that I haven't seen.
Right.
That I would like to catch up on, but that's across the board with all genres, actually.
Well, and like Wes was saying, just with our film festival that was mentioned a few minutes ago, the judges really get inundated with submissions from just like independent, so everywhere you look, there's something new to watch. And, I've got just basic cable Netflix, and I still feel like there's just not enough time to get through everything that, you want to get through. And like recently, I've been on a big kick with almost anything that gets made in Korea about zombies has been fantastic. And like, I love watching them. So that's been, kind of hot. So other things fall by the wayside as far as that goes. But you also had mentioned before the show started that you haven't been to our part of Kentucky before. So that'll be really exciting to get to come and visit, somewhere that you haven't been.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll feel right at home just to your south. From one end of Tennessee to the other, I have family there, and I visited them my whole life. So it will be very close for them to come see me, hopefully. And very convenient for me, after the con to, hop down there and hug some family members.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. We got like the bourbon distilleries are here. I don't know if you are a fan of bourbon or not, but we have the bourbon distilleries. Oh yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of those.
I got a bourbon calling my name as soon as we're done here. Are you kidding me?
What's your favorite?
Oh, I'm not going to throw out a favorite.
We don't want to offend any of the other bourbons. That's right. Yeah. Well,
it's probably like mine. Whatever the other guy is buying. That's my favorite.
So,
there's a lot of sleepers out there too. And there's a lot of stuff that used to be good that is now changed hands 3 or 4 times, and it's unrecognizable. So, I have a family member that keeps up with the industry, and so he's turned me on to some pretty good stuff from Kentucky and Tennessee.
Oh, good.
And of course, you got Ireland.
I've only ever had one good Irish whiskey. Some guy walked up at a wedding reception, and it was delicious. It's as good as anything I've ever had. So I went back to the store and tried to find it, and apparently I bought the wrong year or something. It didn't.
What was it, Wes? Do you remember?
God, no, I don't now. I probably still got the bottle downstairs. but it'd have been aged like, extra.
Yeah, if it gets too smoky, I'm out of there. But my favorite that's dangerously smooth is Teeling, which doesn't sound Irish. It sounds, more like something you get from, I don't know, Japan. But Teeling, look for that. There's 3 different bottles that are available here in this part of the country. So probably whichever one of the 3 looks the least harmless. Of course, you can look this stuff up online too. It has the distinct blah 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 of toothpaste and tube socks. And I'm going, what are they talking about? It tastes like whiskey.
We one of our
getting started on that.
We had a whiskey sponsor a couple years back, and they actually sent somebody to do the show. And I watched her, but they do a podcast all about tasting whiskey, and they're picking out these old alfalfa nodes, and I'm like you, it's whiskey. Yeah. I can't, the only
you get that hint of coffee, and I think a lot of it, Wes, is the power of suggestion. It's like, okay, yeah, I am. I'm kind of picking up on a coffee bean and an old barrel that's been charred on the inside. I don't know. Right. So I just roll my eyes and say, yeah, I either like it or I don't.
And
I was just having this with someone yesterday. We were talking about hot sauces or something, and it was like, you have all these like hot sauce snobs, and I was telling them, I'm like, look, either it's like not hot or it's hot. That's it. And I'm the same way with wine. I'm like a total heathen because all wine just tastes the same. I'm probably going to get a lot of crap from some of my friends that watch this that are wine enthusiasts. But I mean, it just like it. No, I don't know. It just.
And I can tell a dry wine from a sweet wine. I can, because I like sweet wine. Because
whatever makes you hot.
But I grew up on Boone's Farm. What do you expect? Now, I got a follow-up to one of Adrian's questions. Well, actually, it was more like a follow-up to your answer. You mentioned family in Tennessee. Is that part of your roots, or did your family just congregate there? Did you grow up in Tennessee? What's the story on Tennessee?
Well, that's where my grandparents are from. Was from Western Tennessee, so I've still got family in Hardeman County. I have family around Nashville, and also as far east as the Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg area, and a few in between.
See,
that's awesome.
See, I love Tennessee because, see, to me, there's really no difference in Kentucky and Tennessee. We used to use the same map. But when you bought a map from Tennessee, Kentucky came free, or vice versa, however it was. So I got that's how I look at the entire thing. But yeah, when you get people over to Eastern Tennessee, them is my people. That's I'll put it that.
It's one of my favorite places, like, to go and, vacation or just a long weekend. It's beautiful down there. Everybody is really friendly. They always have a lot of really cool car shows. And I think October, so when the show is, if you're going to be going down to Tennessee to visit, I think that is like the perfect time to go down there, because it's not going to be too cold, but you'll still have that fall in the mountains.
Now,
yeah.
In reference to your family, now, have you actually spent any time in Pigeon Forge, or more directly Gatlinburg?
Well, I have a first cousin and his wife, and that's where my second cousin, his son grew up, that lived just outside Pigeon Forge, and they live up on the mountain, and they have some acreage or whatever, and they have bears that come across the yard and wild turkey, and it's just a magical place. Of course, they've got a deck. It's a split level house, so you're up above the bear. So which is very important to me.
Just pointing out, bears can climb. I've been watching YouTube videos. My favorite thing about that part of the country, there is no more touristy bullshit place in America than Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and Pigeon Forge. But you're 10 minutes away from God's country. And that's because, the traffic sucks.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what I love about it.
When you get in it, yes, sir. Once you get out of the towns or whatever, you've got the Great Smoky Mountains. It's just beautiful. But I was quite surprised because I had a number of years that went by between the first time I went to the Pigeon Forge area and when I went back. And I'm looking at all this Vegas Hollywood stuff, and I'm going,
yes,
my God, it looks like Hollywood and Hee Haw had a baby.
Yes, absolutely.
We
went a few years ago to Hollywood for the George Romero star dedication, and we were just there a few days. Like, it was me and Brandon and Nicole, the owners of Scarefest, flew out there on like a Tuesday morning, and we flew back like Thursday afternoon. But while we were there and we were actually like on Hollywood Boulevard, I was looking around and I was like, Pigeon Forge is way better than this.
That's safer too.
Yeah.
There's probably a lot less of a chance that you'll step in hobo shit in Pigeon Forge.
Okay.
Air shit.
Or poke your toe with a needle. But probably never happened in Pigeon Forge.
No, they keep it very clean. Okay. On that note, on the hobo shit note, we're going to take our final commercial break and do our movie review from Bonehead Weekly. We'll be back to close the show out after that.
Come visit the Universal Energy Expo May 7th and 8th at the Northern Kentucky Convention Center. Meet special guests, TikTok celebrity Madam Adam, published author Patty Wigington, psychic mediums the Connor sisters, and paranormal investigator Spirit Mechanics. Over 100 readers, healers, and vendors. Admission also includes door prizes and all workshops. The Universal Energy Expo. Come curious, leave enlightened.
Hey, Scarefest fans, it's Joe Lewis with another review, Bonehead Weekly. You should subscribe. I'm going to do a review of something I never thought I'd ever even talk about. I'm going to do a review of a haunted house movie, only the house is underwater. It's called The Deep House. It's a thriller, supernatural thing. It's on Hulu, so if you guys have got the Hulus, you can subscribe and watch it. Basically, a young couple, modern, leggings, go to France to explore an underwater house and share their findings on social media and go through, and, they go to all these different places, they're looking for ghosts, and they're looking for these kind of, and you're probably familiar with them, underwater towns. And what I mean by that is if, for example, if you know any of the history, like the TVA, the Tennessee Valley Authority, when they built a lot of dams and they built a lot of lakes during the late 30s and 40s with the New Deal, some of these towns were destroyed or they were covered in water, and they're still there underneath the water, and people dive down and take pictures and go look at them. Well, this is obviously something that happens across the world, and it's an interesting idea, I gotta say. So they basically, they're out, and they can never find anything. He's trying to build his YouTube channel, and she speaks French. I think he's English. She's from New York. They're in France, like I said, and there's this particular place that they learn about, but it's basically a tourist trap. Oh, you can see this. And then a guy comes over and says, if you pay me, I'll take you to this place. There's a house there, and you can dive down and look at it, and it's the real deal. So they pay them. And what should you never do in a horror film? You should never follow the freak that tells you should follow me to go see the haunted house. But they do. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a movie. And they get there and they dive down, and guess what? Is there a haunted mansion underneath the water? Yeah, and this lake is deep as shit, by the way. It's a really deep lake. I don't know how deep lakes are in France, and they started talking in meters, and I'm American, and screw the metric system. But past that, did I enjoy the movie? It's not bad. I mean, it's an interesting take. Once they go underwater in the deep house, they pretty much stay there, and there is some creepy scenes in it, and I did kind of enjoy it. And there's a couple of things that got to me. It's only about an hour and 24 minutes. I don't know anything about the actors or the stars or a lot of that. I just seen the trailer for it about a year ago. I was like, oh man, I got to see that. And I finally did. It's from Blumhouse, and I enjoyed it. It's okay. It's nothing to write home about. If you have Hulu, I suggest you check out The Deep House. It's creepy. There's some good effects in it. And like I said, the last 2/3 are really underwater. So it's interesting how they pull it off. I like The Deep House. Just don't run out and see it. Just if you've got the Hulus, go ahead and watch it. Haunted house, underwater movie, The Deep House. This has been Joe Lewis of Bonehead Weekly. See you next week.
And welcome back, everybody, to Scarefest Television. Our guest tonight is Mark Holton of Pee-wee's Big Adventure fame. That's always who he will be to me. Now, this is one of those questions you've probably been asked 1,000 times, and you probably don't even have an answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway. I'm going to try to ask it differently. On the sets, what work are you most proud of? I'm going to ask that one first.
Oh, I probably League of Their Own.
Okay.
I really I liked the character and the way the scene came out there at the Baseball Hall of Fame. I think that's probably one of the things that come to mind that would be right at the top. I'm usually pretty hard on myself, but that one I thought came out pretty good.
A little minor follow-up to that. So you actually, because so many don't, or at least they claim they don't, when you finish a project, do you go out of your way to watch yourself on screen and see what you did?
Yeah, I'll go to, usually you'll have a screening for the cast and crew or a premiere. And sometimes it's just, being inquisitive about, what actually ended up in the film and what, what was going on when you weren't on the screen. So sure. I mean, you always want to know, no matter how painful it is.
The triple threat on that question. Now, does any movie that you worked on or TV show, because you were even on soap operas, do any of them strike you? Do you remember them fondly as just being a fun job? In other words, what's the most fun you had on the movie set?
Oh, probably, when you say on the movie set or whatever, it's usually the stuff that's going on when you're not in front of the camera. But I had a lot of fun in Teen Wolf 2 with Jason Bateman and Stuart Fratkin. And I had a lot of fun in Teen Wolf 2, with Mike Fox. And James Hampton was in both of those films. John Aston was in Teen Wolf 2. The horror team, horror fans, don't forget, one of the greatest television programs besides the Munsters, which would be Wes. He played.
You just hit me.
He played a character named Gomez.
I was gonna say it's the Addams Family, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. Johnny, wonderful meeting him.
Do it, but I was waiting. I was like, ooh, Wes, say something. So I just...
Well, for the record, the last time the Addams Family came up on this show was we were interviewing Claire Heaney, and all I could think about was how pretty she was the entire show. So I don't remember any of that episode. So just so you know.
Don't worry, Mark. He'll feel after this one is over. He'll be like, Mark was so pretty, I just couldn't focus on anything else.
Could happen. Although Adrian tried to throw me before the show. Never mind, everybody. Never mind. Anyway, I'm looking through the chat room here, what chat we have. Lots. Okay, yeah. Now, I do want to pass on the one. They're not asking questions, but the one common thread is everybody is really excited to meet you, and I think that is a two-layer thing. Both your body of work and the fact that you've not done a lot of conventions that that's
right.
So
very few, just a handful. So I love it. I love talking to people. I love hearing their personal stories or whatever, and people they always surprise me. They'll bring me like the most hammered, ripped like a VHS cover, and why did they want me to sign this? But that is something that sits on a shelf and that reminds them of something that they and their sister or their brother shared with them during their childhood. So and that's I get little tips from people that are kind enough to clue me in on how the films that I've been in have affected their families, and especially when they bring their kids, a new generation. It's always
well, I'll just say
heartwarming.
that Pee-wee's Big Adventure, all it did for me, it made me really annoying for a few years, because at that age especially, I could do a really good Pee-wee Herman laugh, and so yeah, it made, and I still do it from time to time. What was that quote that? I've got a quote from that movie that sometimes it pops into my head when I'm drinking, but I'm not drinking tonight, as we've discussed.
You haven't had enough, Wes. Haven't had enough.
So anyway, everybody, we're at the top of the hour. Just to rehash, Alan Trotman, Sky Elobar, and Michael St. Michael's are coming to Scarefest 2022, along with our guest tonight, Mr. Mark Holton. One final question on the way out, just because it's on your IMDb. Your newest project, and it's not out yet, is called Stream. At least that was the working title.
Yes. I have been, I've been in contact with the director several times, and he's really hard to pin down. So, I'm not going to say, well, it could be. It's probably going to be out. Well, we don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me if. In other words, I don't know. And when I know, then I'll say something. But Mike Levy, he's still working on it. Crossing his T's and dotting his I's, so it'll happen when it happens.
And everybody, he mentioned, look up Hoboken Hollow. Hoboken Hollow. If I was on my phone, I could actually tell you if it's streaming right now. But Hoboken Hollow. So that was one of his
Days of the Dead. Days of the Dead. I mentioned Atlanta, but I didn't mention Days of the Dead because I'm an idiot. But it's Days of the Dead in Atlanta.
When you say convention, everybody knew.
Well, what else would it be? Sure,
So everybody, this has been Scarefest TV. I do want to apologize to our live viewers for a little bit glitchy on the video going to Facebook, but we will upload the archive as soon as we can tonight so that you can watch the episode in all of its glory without all the static and pausing and bullshit like that. We won't see you next week because we will be at Days of the Dead in Atlanta, but we'll be back the first week of March. Adrian, you're supposed to be there that night too. That'll be our next council episode. Me, you, and Brandon. Which hopefully we'll have something to talk about. Who knows? That was Brandon's idea. Everybody, see you next week.